what happens when success or the pursuit of a goal becomes the only thing that matters, right? Where that line is crossed, the line between being dedicated towards something, wanting to achieve something, and crossing over to the realm of obsession, right? Where success or again, achieving a certain goal is the only thing that matters. This is what I personally think happened to the character of Daniel Plainview, right, from the movie There Will Be Blood. And if you're familiar with the film, you know that this movie is just top notch in all aspects, right? When it comes to acting, of course, the acting is some of the very best that you'll ever see in a film, in my opinion, right? This is one of those films that you can just go back to and you see something new every time you watch it, right? You learn something from it. And again, one of the central ideas from this film that I got is how Daniel Plainview, right, the main character's tunnel vision, how his obsession with wealth and accumulating wealth and achieving his goals completely blinds him, right, and isolates him from the things that really matter. Those areas of his life that really mattered, his humanity, just his overall, I guess, quality as a person. Everything else in his life slowly starts to deteriorate, right? And if you're familiar with the film, you know that at the end of the film, he loses it all basically. So you can clearly see Daniel, Plainview's ambition and the type of character that he is early on in the film, right? So literally the first few shots of the film is him in this sort of cave, trying to find silver or anything of value, right, that he can sell and use to fund his goals, right? So he ends up breaking his leg in that cave, and he literally has to crawl his way to the nearest town to not only get some medical help, but sell the silver that he found, silver that he found right in that cave. So we can clearly see the type of character that Daniel is, from these scenes alone. A hardworking guy, ambitious, willing to do anything that it takes to get to where he wants to go, right? But also early on in the film, we also see how Daniel, in my opinion, wasn't very or completely cold or just a heartless person, right? You can see that there are glimpses of his real humanity there, right? Taking in HW as his own son, right? Ultimately, it was a business move for him, right? But you can see that, he genuinely cares for the baby, right? He could have easily just gone his own way, but he decides to raise this baby as his own, right? And again, you kind of you see these glimpses of his humanity and how he, isn't so heartless. Despite all the other sort of actions that he takes throughout the film. Another example of this is, that the oil accident, the oil rig accident that ends up happening early on in the film. It's kind of like these two sides of Daniel battling it out, right? That ambitious, greedy, tunnel vision side of him, and the remnants of his humanity, just kind of battling it out, right? But unfortunately, the first side seems to be winning all the time, right? So that accident happens to HW. You can see that he's concerned for his son. He immediately comes to his aid, but again, after a short while, it's just back to business with him, right? He just goes back to the job, so to speak, right? His true priorities are revealed, right? And how he just completely is obsessed with his business and his goals and, the ambitions that he has for himself. So there are various events throughout the film that just completely chip away at any sort of humanity that Daniel may have had in him, right? Again, with the way he expresses himself throughout the film, you can see that the guy is clearly troubled, right? That he doesn't really like humanity. He doesn't really like people in general. And you get a little, view into his mind, right? And again, there are various things that happen in the film, like the power struggle between him and Eli, for example, that just chip away at any sort of humanity that he has left, right? So, the power struggle with Eli, he sees him for what he really is. He sees him as a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? Trying to portray himself as this person, trying to help out the community, right? As this as this humble pastor that's just trying to give back, right? But in reality, again, he's just a very selfish, kind of fake person, right? That is just trying to use others for his own benefit. And he sees Eli for what he really is, right? And again, it just further cements his view of people that he had, right? And the final tipping point for him, in my opinion, is when, you know, the truth about his so-called brother comes to light, right? He puts his trust in this person. He learns how to trust people, I guess, and it ends up backfiring on him, right? You know, that I think that was the final straw for him to just really give into that first side of him, right? That greedy, ambitious, kind of cynical worldview that he had, and just completely discard that other, you know, part of him, right? The remnants of his humanity that he may have had, and just becomes this coldless, heartless person, right? After that incident, in my opinion. So at the end of the film, you can see that he pretty much achieved everything he wanted to, right? He has that oil business that took off. He literally achieved everything that he set out for himself. But, you know, those last few scenes in the mansion where he's completely alone, he has nobody there. HW shows up, right? Trying to form some sort of a business partnership with him, and just trying to get him to, you know, be together again with him. And, what happens is that Daniel just completely disregards him, right? He abandons him, and he cuts off any last connection that he may have had with anybody, right? And he completely isolates himself. He has all this material wealth. He has all this riches. He achieved everything he wanted, but at the end of the day, right, he's alone. He's an alcoholic, you can assume, and he doesn't have any sort of meaningful relationships in his life, right? Everything that really matters in his life has completely, you know, been broken down because of the actions that he took, right? And again, we have that scene at the end of the film where he ends up killing Eli, and he utters the words, "I'm finished," right? And obviously those words aren't just, you know, referring to the actions that he just took, but it's symbolic to him, right? And to his character. He's completely finished, as in, he has nothing left, right? He has nothing left meaningful in his life. He achieved everything he wanted, but it was all just empty pursuits, right? And there's a great quote in the Bible that says, "What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul in the process," right? Or something along those lines. And this is exactly what happened to Daniel, right? And I'm sure there are various other examples in not just film but in life that illustrate this, right? How the pursuit of wealth or the pursuit of something, right, when it crosses over to ambition, or not ambition but obsession, and it completely blinds you from anything else, you know, that truly matters in life, where you cut off anything else that truly matters in life, and you're just so I guess focused on, you know, achieving material wealth or whatever in whatever form it may present itself, right? That, you know, you end up losing everything meaningful in the end because of those actions, right? You let other areas of your life deteriorate, and ultimately it's all vainful, you know, empty pursuits. It's okay to be focused, obviously, right? But again, this film is just trying to, in my opinion, say the consequences of, you know, crossing that line between, you know, ambition and obsession, right? And how it can blind us and isolate us and lose things in our life that really matter, right, because of it. So if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for listening. What did you think about this film? Obviously, this is one of those films, again, that you can just go back to, watch over and over again, and you learn something new. You see something different every time you watch it. Let me know your thoughts about the film, about the acting, about the themes, anything about the film in general. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much for listening. Welcome to the channel. I just make videos on topics that fascinate me, whether it be a movie like this, an anime, a TV show, you know, a manga. I also occasionally try to give life advice based on personal experience that hopefully helps somebody out there, right? Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all the viewers and subscribers of this channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.